Hey, I'm Ryan. This is my 86 Grand Prix. Traded a dirt bike for it years ago. Had a 350 in it with a metric 200, and of course we done swapped out everything from there. Come on, check out the inside. We'll crank it up. I don't know if it's factory interior. It is a Hurst shifter in there. And replace the steering wheel. Interior looks pretty decent. Actually, the guy I got it from, he did the interior work, and they seem to do a pretty good job. There's a little bit of color matching on the browns, but it's okay. These are US steel wheels. Everybody asks about the wheels. They're made by US Steel. You get those from Summit. They're about $289 a piece. These are 18 by 9s, and these tires are 275, 35, 18, and the fronts are 245, 40, 18. So I always get that question, what are the wheels and what are you running? So 18 by 8 on the front, 18 by 9 on the back. Go around to the back, just taking a look. So this, when we get to the motor, this has been a full LS swap. And I'll go through the drivetrain here. So we have an LS 5.3 with a 6.0 top. Everybody always thinks this is the LS2. This is actually the LS1 motor, iron block. But since the motor's sitting so high, we went with a LS2 intake, the 6.0 intake, to keep it low, which did hurt my low end power. So we went with a larger rear end. Up here in the front, all the components, this is from a 2015 Camaro setup from ICT. I highly suggest ICT. They make great stuff. You just go on their website, you type in what you want, whether you have air conditioning, power steering, what size your alternator is, all kinds of stuff. So all the brackets and everything came from ICT. The air conditioner does work. This is from an early 90s truck, this compressor is. We have, let's see, again, spoke about that. I've also added an F-body steering box down at the bottom. So now the steering box is out of the early, what would that be, the mid-80s Camaro. It took a whole turn out of the steering wheel doing that. And you can see we got the alternator mounted way down there at the bottom. We got a nicer suspension setup. Let's see, that's IMI. So I went with the IMI racing suspension setup. I did not replace the upper and lower control arms. Probably gonna do a QA1 swap later on. But for right now, we just did the IMI, what bar is that? Torsion bar, something like that. Sorry, I forget all these things. You start putting money into these things, you forget about it. The ignition setup is factory GM. As far as the coil packs, your spark plugs, all that kind of running gear, it's all factory GM parts. You can get a lot of horsepower out of factory GM stuff. There's really no need in trying to buy all this aftermarket coil packs and from Holley and MSD. You're really going to run into a lot of trouble. Stick with the GM stuff until you're like over 1,000 horsepower. There's really no point. Moving down the drivetrain, we have a GM Performance 4L80. I didn't like the 4L60. We actually burned out a couple of those. Kept hitting second gear so hard that it really burned out. We had an electronic issue out of the Holley system. This is the Holley Terminator X Max. So if you had a factory GM, then a factory GM computer, it has fail-safes built in. And those fail-safes, if you have an electronic issue, would of course save your transmission and your parts. Holley doesn't have that. So I had a loose power cable, I had a loose positive cable on my battery, and it fried 2 transmissions in a row, 4L60. By the time we figured it out, we had already swapped over to the 4L80. I like the 80. Should have just went with the 80 to begin with. It's got a shift kit in it. It hits second super, super hard. It even hits 4th gear hard. I highly suggest it. Moving down the drivetrain even more, got an aluminum drive shaft from Atlanta Drive Shaft. It's brand new. And down furthermore, I have the factory GM G-body 7.5-inch rear end, but on the inside of that, I've got the Eaton 410 Detroit locker chunk in there. I can't remember what axles I have, but I did upgrade the axles so they wouldn't twist. Let's see. Also have the Holley Also have the Holley line lock system. What that allows to do is for the front wheels to lock and allows the back wheels to spool up. Here, we'll show that. Now right now this car is running on open headers, but I do have cutoffs, vacuum operated cutoffs. So now you're listening to it through a Flowmaster 40s in the back, but with the flip of a switch, we've just got open long tube headers. My line lock I've put up under the dash up under here. You can put the button anywhere. It's just a button that holds the brake pressure. So if you come down here and look, I'm gonna put my foot on the brake. I'm gonna hold this button up here and let off the brake. So now my front brakes are applied. I am in first gear, and all I have to do is push gas. And there you go. I think that pretty much sums up my 1986 Pontiac Grand Prix.